Good morning and
Blog
welcome to
Talk
Time
Radio.
Good morning and welcome to TimetoPlay.com's Empower Half Hour, where each week one of the professionals from the TimetoPlay.com website provides discussion and tips on how we can enjoy life. So yesterday my husband was talking to someone at a networking event who described what Time to Play was to her, and she said that it was a networking site. You know, that does kind of describe it. And for anyone listening, if you didn't go to TimetoPlay.com yet, please do. So how is TimetoPlay.com a networking site? Well, the intention is people helping people, and networking is kind of that. All right, so here's an example. Did you see the Demi Moore information that was in the news today? And without doing a lot of reading about the situation and basing it on just what I heard the reporters talking about, we know, of course, she's divorcing Ashton Kutcher. The reporter was discussing how she lost a lot of weight and that she's having an emotional crisis, and that she was quoted in the Bazaar magazine that she may determine in the end that she is just not lovable. So you could see she's sad, and you could see that her current situation is affecting her ability to enjoy life. So how could Time to Play have helped? I'm trying to put together a place where people can go where they won't feel like they're isolated or alone, a place to get the resources they need to enjoy life. The Time to Play philosophy is that you have to be happy, healthy, have money, and a work-life balance. So on the site is Dr. Gelber, a relationship specialist like dear Ann Landers, or Jim Ryan and others who are happiness specialists. And, okay, so Demi Moore might be an extreme circumstance or an extreme example, but she is a person, and like many of us, she's struggling with life issues that prohibit her from enjoying life. A few weeks ago, I had a podcast with Jim Ryan, and we discussed how our brain can be our enemy. So we think and we stew over things which can affect our day and more. Did you read recently that 25% of the women in America are on antidepressants? In Demi Moore's situation, she has money, but she does not have everything in the Time to Play philosophy, in this case, happiness. So I'm working on Time to Play to not only be able to provide people with information about fun and clubs they could go to, events. By the way, I need people to input their information so people can find them. So there's the calendar and there's the clubs database. So they could participate and they could be happy. But I'm putting together a place where we can help each other through things that Time to Play's amazing professionals like Brian White, who's our guest today, can offer, and that might get us thinking on how we can make our lives better to empower us. I'm working on helping businesses and chambers, too, because part of the thinking is that if you hate your job, you don't have a job. If you have a business that isn't flourishing, you can't enjoy life. In that case, truly, you're very sick and stressed. So there's a new place on the discussion forum for a job exchange that I'm working on getting going as well. So it's Time to Play a networking site, yes, to an extent, but also it's an empowering site, a place where we can work together to succeed. We can't wait for someone else to fix things. We can't wait for people to make us happy, healthy, have money, or a work-life balance. We have to work together to make this happen. So be part of the team like Brian to help 1 million people enjoy life. Go on TimetoPlay.com and offer something you know or do that can help someone else. So enough of that. Sorry, Brian, my little soapbox for the morning.
No problem.
Today's professional resource from the Time to Play site is Brian White, a financial advisor and the Associate Vice President of Mandel, White & Associates. Brian's been doing financial planning since 2004, and we've talked a number of times, and he's truly seen some things that, affect people significantly in their lives. And so Brian just sent me his bio, which I realized wasn't on the Time to Play site, so we'll be putting that up right away. But he is a financial advisor and associate vice president at Ameriprise Financial, located in Melville. He does run a successful practice, and he's very impressive with the knowledge that he has. Brian works with clients to design a personal financial plan based on their life goals, which is completely important. We do need goals. The strategy focuses on helping them become more confident about managing their financial objectives. So let's start to talk about how that kind of works. One of the things that we talked about is I think a lot of people are very reactive in our society, correct, Brian?
Correct. Very correct.
And do they really kind of even know what financial planning is and what is comprehensive financial planning? Because, oh, my gosh, that sounds so overwhelming. So what exactly does that mean?
What comprehensive financial planning encompasses is a holistic approach to one's life. It's not just looking at their investment portfolio, because when you think of a financial planner, too many individuals think it's just reviewing their investments. It's looking at cash flow. It's looking at a cash reserve strategy. It's reviewing their protection planning, so that's all the insurances they have in place, from life insurance, their health insurance, their auto insurance, homeowners insurance, the insurances offered through their employer. It's looking at different wealth accumulation strategies, such as college savings for children. I can't tell you how often that's an item that's put off to the side and not really addressed. And it's also looking at estate planning and tax planning. So it's really a full overview of what's going on in an individual's life and making sure they're being as efficient as possible, using their resources to the best of their ability.
See, and that's something I think a lot of people really don't understand. And maybe you can write up that for me so I can actually post that on your page too. Because when you say financial advisor, in my mind, I think that you're going to tell me what to invest in for the stock market. Do you know?
Of course.
So look at all these things. Go ahead.
And investing is one part of it, but it's not the whole picture.
But the title of financial advisor doesn't tell me. Right? So this is very interesting. Exactly, right? So this is very interesting for people to understand that you are looking at, I guess we call you comprehensive, comprehensively look. So can I ask a question? So tell us how you even start. Like Brian sent me some bullets of things that we wanted to cover. So, like here we have, at what age should you start working with a financial advisor? Or in this case, a planner. Like, where should you start? When should you start? How should you even start?
Okay. The when you should start is as early and as young as possible, because the better habits you create at a younger age, you increase your probability of success dramatically. So by having a planner like myself on your team, if you think about it, from the day one, the day you get your first job, how effective you could be and how many mistakes you can avoid making by having a professional on your team. How you start is by finding somebody who works well with you, who resonates with you, who's somebody you think is going to give you the right guidance, somebody you can trust to give you an overview of what you have currently going on in your life and give you some guidance on what are the right steps you can take to get to accomplishing whatever goal you want to accomplish. It could be, if you're first starting in your career, it's I'm in my new job. I'm graduated from college. I'm starting with a pretty good salary. My employer gave me this benefits booklet. I don't know what half this stuff means, or 90% of this stuff means. And my goal is I'd like to buy a house in a couple of years. And with a planner on your team, we can design a customized plan to start off saving strategies to be able to afford the home you want to purchase in X amount of years, and review your employee's benefit booklet to make sure you make the right choices.
Well, that's very interesting, and realistically, unfortunately, when I was younger, it's something that wasn't really very prevalent, and I think still maybe is something that people don't really know about. I mean, certainly my son is 20, and I don't recall him ever talking about finding a financial planner or having a financial planner come to his college. So that's something that maybe is something that should be really looked into and to be able to help. Again, the entire philosophy behind this is to have a better life and to be able to enjoy life, and you do have to have some type of money in order to do that.
I completely agree, and one of the things we actually started doing is I joined a charity organization called the Right Start Foundation, and we educate local high schools and local universities by doing a 2-day workshop program where we give these students a career. They get their paycheck, They find out how much money they're going to clear after taxes, and we give them a real-life scenario. What is it like to be an adult? And we create some education around saving habits, retirement saving habits, and everything else that goes into becoming an adult, going from being supported by your parents and then to having to be able to financially support yourself.
That's very cool. There's two questions that I want to go into, like what happens if you're 40s and you didn't start A? So let's write that down. And what happens if, I forgot the other one. Okay, let's talk about what happens if you never started. What if you're, this is the other one. You know, today's economy, a lot of people are really fludging out there. Like they're living paycheck to paycheck, or, you know, they maybe got laid off, they lost their job.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have dipped into their 401ks or used everything. So I want to go into those two things, like how can we help people who might be in a situation today that is not ideal.
Okay, so let's address the 40s first. In your 40s, you've never started. So when's the best time to start saving? It was yesterday. The second best time is today. So there's nothing you can do to go backwards and say, wow, I wish I would have started at a younger age. Of course. But the second best time is to start right now. So let's look at what you have going on, what you're working, what your income looks like. Let's go through a cash flow analysis, see what discretionary savings you can do and what your goals are, and let's start doing something now. The longer you procrastinate and put this off, the more unlikely it'll be that you'll ever be able to afford successfully in retirement from a statistics standpoint, just because of how much more you would need to save to accomplish a goal. Let's take an example. Let's say that 40-year-old needed to save $2.5 million by the age of 65 to successfully retire. Having 25 years to do so, the average savings would be less if they started at 50 years old. But of course, it'd be better if they started in their 30s because they have more time. Right. The power of compounding interest rates over long periods of time definitely works in your favor when you're looking at saving towards a goal and earning an interest rate.
Question
for the person,
really quick before you
sure.
go further for that. You know how people are scared of the stock market, I think, a little bit now. Mm-hmm. Do you have alternatives, like you're talking about compounding interest rates? So if somebody, let's say, doesn't want to do stock investment, is there alternatives for them? And is that something that they could implement that would still give them a little bit of a retirement fund, or is it not realistic?
It depends on what else goes on in their life. If they're an individual who's a straight W-2 wage earner who works in, let's say, corporate America where there's no pension system and the only stream of income they have might be Social Security, that person would need to save a lot more and have to get a better interest rate or growth rate, depending on what their income is, than a person who worked and has a pension and a larger guaranteed stream of income. So there's definitely alternatives to having to save in the stock market. The stock market is scary. I can understand that for if you don't understand it and the volatility that it goes on with it. But there's definitely alternatives in the fixed income area where you can earn an interest rate, and it might be enough. It's completely individual, so it's hard to say in generalities that if you're in a CD strategy or a shorter duration bond fund earning 2 or 3%, or an intermediate term bond fund earning 4%, is that enough? It might be. We just have to discuss what else is going on in your life and what your saving rate is to get there.
Hence the comprehensive financial planning piece, which is very cool.
Correct.
Okay. So what about these people who are really struggling? What do you suggest for them? Because maybe retirement savings is the furthest thing from their mind. But what would you suggest?
Well, for the individual who is in between jobs and is using their 401k to make ends meet right now, we'd want to address what's going on in their life and really take a hard look versus what's necessity versus what's nicety, and really try to squeeze that belt as tight as possible, see what they're doing, what kind of field they're trying to get into, and see what kind of other resources that we can help connect them to maybe get them back to full employment, or see what areas that we can help them address to save some money that they might have overlooked. So we would once again want to do a comprehensive overview of what's going on in their lives to see what would be a good recommendation to how to improve on what they're currently doing.
So you could pretty much help anybody in any circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, the financial world is an interesting one. When it comes to money, money is, for some reason, was never a real big topic of discussion. So most people learn their habits from what they see from their surrounding circles of influence, be it family members, parents, brothers, sisters, who knows. And some family members might have good habits. Some family members might have bad habits, but those are the habits they've learned. So sometimes it's breaking down some of the bad preconceived notions and creating some good habits and giving them a better track to run on.
That's very cool. So just as a quick question, if somebody wanted to come to see you, do you give them a checklist of things that you would like them to bring with them? Is that pretty much like how they would start? Like, what do they need to do in order to come and start this process?
Typically, our first meeting for comprehensive financial planning is just a discussion to find out what's on their mind, what they're looking to accomplish, what goals they want to accomplish. And after our conversation, and I get a better understanding of who they are and what's important to them, then we'll go through and I'll give them some homework to do. They'll have to collect some data for me, and then they'll come back in, bring that data in. We'll discuss the data they brought in, and I will do a complete analysis, a complete overview on their situation, and give them some good recommendations on where to improve.
That's very cool. No question again. Would they need to be worried that you're going to charge them lots and lots of money? Is this something that they should be concerned over?
No, I mean, if I mean, a lot of money is a relative term, so I don't think it's a lot of money. For what you get, the value you get, the time you get by spending with a professional who knows what they're doing, who can make a difference between success and failure in the financial part of your life, I think it's a great value for the dollar.
I would agree with you. I think, based on what you've just been speaking of, you certainly would be able to provide significant value to anybody that would come and speak with you because of your knowledge of what people need to do, which is terrific. I guess, let's go into some common mistakes that you've seen people, so maybe somebody can see themselves in what they're currently doing and realize that maybe they do need to seek a professional for assistance. Like, what's the most common mistakes or common issues that you find people are encountering in their lives now?
Sure. Two of the biggest mistakes when it comes to investment savings or retirement savings is, one, they wait too long to start saving. They say, retirement's 20, 30 years away from now. I have plenty of time. I can start saving later. That's a big mistake. Even small savings, even if you do $100 a month and you make it consistent, it's going to make a big difference over long periods of time. So even a small savings on a monthly basis is better than doing nothing. A second big mistake, and I see this in the investment world all the time, a basic principle of investing is you want to buy things when they're cheap and sell things when they're expensive. So you want to buy low and sell high. The average investor does completely the opposite based on their emotions. They'll see that when things are going well, they'll want to buy the thing that's going well. And then when things collapse, they want to sell the things that collapsed. So they did the complete opposite. They bought things high and they sold them low. If you keep buying things high and selling them low, that's a recipe for losing a lot of money. That's why individuals feel like they've gotten burned, because they let their emotions get in the way of sound investment strategies and force them to make bad decisions. Usually when you make emotional decisions, it leads you down the wrong path. I mean, this happened when the tech bubble burst. People were hot on tech stocks in the in the late 90s, early 2000s. Everybody wanted to be loaded up on tech stocks, and they were buying them at the height of the market. And when the tech stocks burst, they wanted to sell them, so they took a big loss. It happened in the real estate market. When in the past real estate bubble, when the real estate bubble we just experienced, we're going through, The average investor was trying to get in because real estate was always going up. Real estate never goes down is what they believed, and they were loading up on real estate, and then the real estate bubble burst, and that caused a traumatic event in our economy.
Right, absolutely. So how do you kind of know which things that people like, how do you guide them as to what the recommendations are so that they can buy the low and they can reap the benefits?
We usually design based on time frame. So we'll design customized plans based on the goals and what the duration is, the time frame to that goal is. So I know that if an individual is going to retire in 5 years or the individual is going to retire in 25 years, the investment strategy is completely night and day because of the time frame. The person who's 5 years or less away from retirement doesn't have or can't experience the same volatility, doesn't have the same time frame to, average out and get to where they need to go and be able to ride out the storms a little bit better. Where the person who's 25 years out from retirement can afford to be a little more aggressive because they have a longer time frame. And then the same thing when it comes to college planning. We completely customize a plan for college that starts off a little more aggressive when the children are young and dramatically become more conservative as they approach the age of 17, 18 years old because that's when they're going to start going to school.
Absolutely, and realistically, school, because I'm in that situation, is probably at minimum $100,000 to put the kid through college at this point. And realistically, it's very important for our people to start saving. I know I had done that when my children were born. We did make an account, but it's in no way going to cover everything that they need. And trying to get them loan free is significant at this point. It's difficult for anybody.
Your account might not cover the whole piece of college, but think of how much it could cover and how much less you have to worry about covering right now. So even if you've only accumulated $10,000 or $20,000 throughout your children's lifetime, that's going to make a big difference in what you have to pull out of your pocket right now. Anything's better than nothing.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. Quick, what is estate planning? I know people have heard the term.
Okay.
Could you give us a quick overview of what is estate planning?
Estate planning and elder care planning kind of go into the same basket in the sense of we look at having proper documentation. So we look at creating a will, a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney, maybe a living will, maybe trusts could be important. The goal of estate planning is to keep your assets that you've worked so hard to accumulate over your lifetime and have them go at when you pass away, go to where you want them to go, be it a charity, a loved one, and not go to the IRS. So with proper estate planning, we keep and preserve as much of your assets as possible. And it also ties into elder care planning. With the rising costs of care facilities being probably on Long Island averaging $14,000, $15,000 a month, that can deplete an individual's savings rather quickly. So if you're in a long-term care facility for 3 years at the cost of $150,000 a month, you can blow through an investment portfolio pretty quickly. So we look at designing ways to protect your assets so that you qualify for certain programs so that you can keep your assets and have them go to your loved ones or a charity.
Which is part of this whole comprehensive financial plan, because you wouldn't think a financial advisor would even care about that part, which is very interesting, so people can see that you really take care of everything, truly.
Look at it this way. If it's taken you your whole life to accumulate, let's say, $500,000 in assets, 3 years in a care facility can completely wipe out your entire savings.
Truly.
So we want to look at making sure we do the right things to preserve your assets and keep them and have them do what you want them to do.
And I appreciate that. Just a quick question. Like, how often do you meet with your clients to review stuff, and once you make the plan, and how often does that have to happen?
Sure.
Or is it individual?
The first year, typically, it's individual, but the first year, typically, I meet with a client 6 times in the first year, maybe 7 times, because it's a lot of tweaking the analysis, getting to know them, learning what's important to them, getting all the documentation in place, getting all the recommendations perfect to their liking, and making sure we satisfy all their goals. Years 2 on, we meet every quarter, so 4 times a year, to touch base on a number of different topics. So we look at reviewing investment portfolios, reviewing insurance policies, doing beneficiary reviews, looking at their estate documents. Towards the end of the year, we do tax planning to make sure that we're being as tax efficient as possible. That's another big way that I help a lot of clients, is using tax strategies to help them save money in taxes, not only today but also going forward. So there's usually a meeting every 3 months to go over what's going on in their life, what's changing, and making sure we stay on top of everything. But if you go back to 2000, but in 2008, when we had a really tough year in the economy, there was clients I was talking to my clients like once a month, because things were changing that rapidly that we needed to stay on top of everything at all times.
Well, that's really nice to have somebody kind of looking over your shoulder to make sure that you're doing the right stuff, and I would encourage people to give you a call. Contact Brian. Again, I'm going to make sure it's on the Time to Play part, but he does do articles on a monthly basis to help people, have resources to have a better life. But he's under the Money tab, so if you go under Money and you look for Brian White, you will find him, and you can read his monthly articles, and his contact information will be there if it, shortly. His phone number is 424-2482, and his email is brian.x.white@ampf.com. So I'll have that up there very shortly. Next week's podcast is Helen Keith. She is a real estate professional and a professional resource on Time to Play, also under the Money tab. And she's going to be speaking about what we should know in the volatile real estate market. So that's very important because, of course, we're all you have issues over when you should sell your house, if you should buy something, et cetera. So she's going to give us some good information about that. And after you read any article written by one of the professionals on the Time to Play site, you can ask any of them a question. Just use the link from their page or go to the forum for a direct link to them. There's no cost to ask anybody a question. Any of these amazing people who are giving their time, and they're part of the team to help a million people enjoy life. After the programs, the podcasts are available on demand. I encourage you guys to forward this one with Brian's information to some of your friends. It's truly very informative, and I'm proud of the information that he's helping to provide to people. So we do have 2 minutes left, Brian. Is there anything that we didn't cover that, we should kind of throw out there really quickly that you feel is really important, like those last thoughts kind of thing?
Comprehensive financial planning is something that everybody should be doing. Do it as early as possible. Stay on top of it. Don't ignore it. Ignoring the problem doesn't make it go away. Sit down with a professional. Get somebody you know, like, and trust to help you out. Making sure that you stay on top of everything is important. Have your investment portfolios review regularly. And hopefully with the right saving strategy, you'll be able to successfully retire and accomplish all the dreams in your life. So, Doreen, I wanted to thank you very much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I enjoyed this very much, and I thank you once again.
No, and I appreciate you and your volunteering and your helping to help people have a better quality of life. And, thank you so much for participating on the Time to Play project.
All right.
All right. Have a very fabulous day, and thank you so much. I hope, people really take advantage of the great information that you've provided.
I hope so also. And one other thing, when you read off the phone number, just to give an update, it's in the 631 area code.
Oh, so sorry about that. That's right. I'm in the 631 area code. So it's 631-424-2482. 631-424-2482. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has an excellent day.
Very good. Bye-bye.